Yeah.
The game industry thinks you don't matter. I mean, they don't just think that, they literally say it. They openly say that the players who've been supporting them for years don't matter.
There are two things that happen, and I think that they are all too similar. We have Tim Sweeney of Epic Games that stepped forth and he's criticizing Steam for their use of ID tags, saying that it doesn't make sense for a game store to label games that are using generative AI. It doesn't make sense for customers to have full context of their purchases before they actually make a purchase. I can't imagine.
Wait, what's the problem with having the tag though? Like, I've seen the article. He basically was saying that why even bother putting the tags, because every single game is gonna have AI tags. I mean AI in it, which is not true. Not every single game will have AI. Like, why is he so pressed about it? What is he trying to hide?
Why you guys are having so many troubles beating Steam. Maybe you should probably just get a couple more journalists to try to write an article about how it's a monopoly. Then we have you.
Damn. I don't think I've seen Legendary so sassy before.
Ubisoft. We haven't heard from these guys in a long time, so you know it's going to be pretty good. They're going to their local government with a long list of excuses, likely trying to prepare themselves for massive layoffs that'll be coming very soon, I'm sure. Talking about their poor performance and saying that, well, it's not our fault. It's not our games. No, it's just that players just aren't buying new games anymore. It's market conditions that are the problem, even though we've seen multiple breakout successes.
The hell we're not. I personally bought more games in the past 2 years, and especially the last year, than I ever had. If anything, people are acquiring more and more games these days than in the past. And the reason is there's more and more games being dropped. But the difference is we're just not buying their games.
This entire year, many of those successes actually coming from their former employees, new studios and studios without any marketing. But sure,
Game of the Year is made by the guy who left Ubisoft because he was too bored at Ubisoft.
It's just new games we don't like. Definitely not just yours. You would think that making games is the best job in the world, with one of the easiest customer bases to serve. I realize a lot of people meme on that because they go, oh, you just can't please the gamers. You absolutely can. They're a lot easier than you think we are. And I don't think that there is an audience that's as vocal as the gaming audience is. We have no problem telling you what our opinion is. We have absolutely no issue celebrating the games we love and hating on the games we do not. And there is so much information that we throw out there, so much valuable feedback, but that feedback doesn't mean anything if they aren't willing to listen. And it's like we don't exist. Either it's their ego or they just genuinely think that they know better than us. And that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about an industry that just refuses to listen.
What really gets to me is that all of these companies, they act like the gamers are nothing. They openly insult them in interviews and articles and their Twitter posts. They're openly just insulting the gamers who've been buying their games. And then they're surprised that they're not generating as much money as they used to. It's as if the gamers that they were insulting were the ones giving their money by buying their products. But now that you isolated all of us, you're still insulting us for not giving you money. I'm sorry, but this is not like a freaking dommy situation here. We didn't sign up for being dominated and BDSM by these AAA companies. Not just the devs, but the journals too. Yeah.
Blames its players for not buying their games, one that thinks that we don't deserve to know how these games are being made, and one that is going to continue to ignore us until they can't. I genuinely believe that in the age of the internet, where social media is everywhere and commentary is essentially unavoidable at this point, it has never been easier to figure out what players want, what they don't want, and what they absolutely cannot stand. We are a passionate bunch. We love talking about games, and we love making sure that everybody else knows exactly how we feel about them. You do not have to look far to find a 1,000-word Steam review with a mountain of engagement or tens of thousands of hours of YouTube, Twitch, and TikTok videos that are breaking down every single design choice from every single angle that's possible. This is feedback that none of these companies have to pay for. They don't need focus groups. They don't need surveys. They don't need to do anything. They just got to open up their eyes, open their ears, and engage with the overwhelming amount of information.
Yeah, but for some reason, specific companies, they think that if they spend millions on game journals and shows, that it will convert into sales. When everyone already knows, don't trust the shows and don't trust the journals. Sometimes they're also one and the same.
That players are handing them for free. And I'm telling you guys this right now because I need you to understand why I am so frustrated with this industry. I know it's uncomfortable for them to have to sift through a lot of this feedback to separate the useful from the useless, to read things that might actually end up hurting their feelings, but these companies have everything they need to succeed. Everything! And it just drives me up the wall when I watch them say and do things that offer players nothing, ignore the clearest feedback imaginable, and then somehow act surprised when their games and their platforms underperform. And I think that you can see this pattern everywhere, especially with companies that are trying to compete with Steam right now. And everybody wants a piece of Steam's success. Of course they would. Steam makes a lot of money, but nobody wants to actually listen to the players or build what the players are asking for. They all show up with these half measures, these
Nah, they're just too busy doing the blame game and blaming others why no one wants their stuff.
shortcuts and some inflated belief that players are just going to magically abandon a platform they trust. And that trust part is something that these companies do not take seriously. They ignore it entirely. And I think that nowhere is that delusion clearer than Epic Games. I think that these guys are embarrassing. I realize that some people like them. I like what they've done with Fortnite, but outside of that, I just think
Journals don't equate to sales, at least not anymore. The only monetary gain journals are providing is to the content creators who are making fun of them. That's my opinion. So will Legendary drop defense Steam for deleting negative reviews? I don't think so.
that these guys are ridiculous. They have industry experience. They have one of the most played games on the planet. They own and develop the most widely used engine in the entire medium. And with all of that knowledge, that influence, and that money, they still haven't managed to turn their store into anything other than a launcher for Fortnite and a place to grab a free game every couple of weeks.
Yep.
You know it. I know.
The only reason I have Epic Launcher on my PC is to grab the free games, which I never end up even playing.
It. Everybody knows it. None of this makes sense to me. These guys have poured hundreds of millions of dollars into this store, and after 7 years, they don't even come close to touching Steam. They haven't even gotten to the point where they could sniff Steam's boot. But after Tim Sweeney's recent comments, everything started making sense. A Twitter user had posted, Steam and all digital marketplaces need to drop the made with AI label. It doesn't matter anymore. This post blew up, over 1 million impressions, barely any likes, a massive pile of comments, most people not having anything very nice to say. But the comment that caught everybody's eye and got the most coverage was Tim Sweeney himself saying that, agreed, the AI tag is relevant to art exhibits for authorship disclosure and digital content licensing marketplaces where buyers need to understand the rights situation. It makes no sense for game stores where AI will be involved in nearly all future production. Sweeney would then
Quite frankly, I think the only reason he's so hell bent on it is so he doesn't have to do that on Epic Games. Like on the launcher. I think that's the only reason he's so against Steam doing that. But also, why are you policing someone else's platform? Stick to your own.
double down on this in response to another user who had said this heavily implies that Epic are now using AI coding tools in the latest updates of the Unreal Engine. Therefore, according to Steam's guidelines, any game built with Unreal Engine must declare the use of Gen AI. Sweeney responded with, and this is absolute gold, not true. I just hate to see Valve confiscate ever more opportunity from small developers by facilitating new categories, cancel campaigns, and review bombings. Steam used to just facilitate.
This just explains that Tim Sweeney doesn't know shit or bunkers about what gamers even care about. We have games that use AI and we have zero issues with it. Look at our creators. Look at where winds meet. We know it has AI. Do we give a fuck? No, not really. Why would we? Those are good games. Why would we care? They're open about it. It just goes to show that he doesn't even know what people who actually play games want. But he's the person in charge making an engine that most games are developed on, an engine that most gamers hate. Everyone, well, not everyone, most people hate Unreal Engine. The only Unreal Engine in the past that I played a game on that was playing decently was Clear Obscure. This is just so pathetic. It's not about the AI, it's about how it was used for most of us. Yeah. Why does he care? Epic implemented a feature that Steam have for years. Well, like someone already pointed out, is because he probably trying to implement a lot of AI into Unreal.
Downloads, then they foreclosed on payments, then price competition, then crypto, now AI. You're not pulling one over on me, brother. Sweetie's out here throwing around this pity party framing like he's some champion of the poor little indie devs, as if Valve's out here crushing their hopes and dreams, and he's the last hero to stand between these small studios, crypto, AI, and annihilation. Actually, we should probably let some of that stuff come through, but it's manipulative, it's self-serving, and frankly, it's embarrassing. So we're going to go point by point because every single thing that he brings up and complains about exposes exactly why Epic has never gotten anywhere near Steam. The first thing that he brought up is how Steam foreclosed on payments. He's talking about the Steam wallet and how Valve has their own approved payment processors. Yes, this has caused some censorship issues. We've talked about that on this channel, but it also means that players get one secure wallet. We don't have to re-input our payment information. We get consistent fraud protection, easy refunds, and no sketchy third-party sites. It's a hell of a lot more secure and convenient for the customer, but it comes at the expense of the publisher and the developer. You're going to start to see this trend with Sweeney. He then cries about their price rules. Valve prevents publishers from jacking up their prices.
I'm starting to think Sweeney is very pressed about Steam. I don't know. I cannot put my finger on it, but kind of feels like a very one-sided obsession happening. Could it be all the free shit he's giving away to people, and people still decide to go spend money instead of taking his free shit? How dare the customer know my platform makes AI sloppy that hurts my business?
On Steam while undercutting them everywhere else. Sweeney hates this because, well, it stops Epic from doing the one strategy that they had, undercut the competition and Prey, but for the players, it means that your library doesn't have to be scattered across 5 launchers just to be able to avoid getting ripped off. Epic calls it anti-consumer, everybody else is going to call it consumer protection. Next, he whines about Steam banning crypto, blockchain, and NFT games. That complaint honestly will tell you just about everything that you need to know. These games almost always are scams, pump and dump schemes, and projects that are missing half the skeleton of actual gameplay. Valve just said, no thanks, we don't want to have anything to do with that. Epic said, come on in, baby. And when one
Oh, brother. Again, I'm not even surprised in the least.
Platform shields their players from dumpster fires and the other one rolls out the red carpet for them, I don't really think I have to tell you which one actually gives a damn about its customers. And then we have his masterpiece, the reason for this video, the AI disclosure tag. And honestly, man, Steam just wants clarity. They just want their customers to know what they're buying. And they also want to protect themselves legally. Sweeney is framing this like it's some oppressive overreach, like Valve is leading a witch hunt. No, dude, it's transparency. It's just basic labeling. And the fact that you are willing to die on this hill makes it painfully obvious how disconnected.
Yeah, exactly. He's disconnected and he's just showing that he doesn't know what players actually want or care about. We don't care about AI. We just care about a good game.
You are from what players actually want, because customers do seem to want these.
Like right now, after I'm done talking about this, guess what I'm gonna go do? I'm gonna go play a game that has AI in it, where winds meet. Which, by the way, we today upgraded our guild, so the merchants in the guild, they are providing a lot more items. He thinks he deserves team success, but won't do any work to get there. There's no reason for people to leave Steam. That's the thing. Steam can literally sit and not do shit and still be better than Epic. Because Epic, I'm sorry, have you opened it recently? It's so fucking laggy.
these tags. Every point that he raises, every issue he fabricates, every accusation he's throwing at Steam, all of it just reinforces the exact same truth that these guys are out here for themselves, not for their players, not for the customers. And that's somebody that we can't trust. And I don't know about you guys, but I don't really like to buy stuff from people that I don't trust. Now, I replied to Sweeney and I had said, Tim, this right here is why you will never beat Steam. It makes no sense for game stores, but it does make sense for customers. We don't need a cash register. We need transparency and a voice. And that's exactly where I stand. I do not care if a game uses AI. They've used different AI tools for years. What I do care about is players having all of the information that they need before spending money. That's it. Being an informed customer should not be a controversial issue, but apparently it scares the hell out of some of these companies, which honestly, guys, that tells you a lot about what's going on right now. They would rather you not know anything at all about any of these purchases, be blind.
I don't really trust the windowless Epic van with the free game painted on the side. I don't know why that sounded so fucking hilarious, but I love that comment.
Blind to their practices, blind to their processes, and happy to just swallow down whatever they serve you. And I am not going to pretend like that is acceptable. I also saw some people that were rallying around Sweeney. Mark Curran, formerly of Blizzard, had jumped into the conversation saying that Sweeney is stating the obvious. I responded, that doesn't change the purpose of the disclosure. Only the customer gets to decide what is and isn't useful before making a purchase. This isn't about AI, it's about choice. I am all for destigmatizing AI, but people still deserve the option. He then doubled down saying that the tag is uninformative and that these tools are everywhere.
Oh yeah, I've seen legendary drops lately, like lean into Grum's takes on Twitter. I didn't know he's gonna actually show it in the video. Damn, legendary drops is getting sassier and sassier. I don't know what we're supposed to do. Soon he's gonna outsass us all.
And every game is going to be labeled as AI soon. So I clarified one last time saying, you're missing my point. While there should be better distinctions given how quickly things have evolved, some people want nothing to do with it regardless. I don't agree with those people. I only care about how it's implemented, like Arc Raiders versus Call of Duty. I view this as no different as people wanting to know if a game has consultants involved with its development. Many people would say that's useless, unhelpful information, no need for a distinction. I am for people knowing everything that they want to know before making a purchase, whether I share their values or not. Maybe I'm just too radically pro-consumer. Maybe that's what the problem is. I just can't see clearly. But the one thing that I do think that I can...
I mean, considering that all of us here, including the Legendary, we are consumers. We're not the ones providing the service of a launcher where people can buy games, nor are we the developers. So yeah, all of us are gonna be pro-consumers because we actually consume games.
see clearly is that these CEOs, especially guys like Tim Sweeney, they do not understand the perspective of the customer whatsoever. They're looking at this situation and they're like, well, why would the customer need to know what kind of tools we're using? Why would they need to know that we were using Gen AI? And furthermore, why do they hate it so much? They just don't get it. And the reason why, and it's pretty simple, the customer just does not see a benefit in it for themselves. People are going to say, oh, it's slop. Oh, it's the human cost. No, it's not. It's just that they don't see a benefit in it for themselves. As simple as that. Why are people supposed to get excited about these video game companies? They're going to come out with the exact same games. They're going to charge the same fucking price and make even more money than they ever have before.
No, correction. They will release the exact same game in the name. They will remove half of the gameplay mechanics, but they will also double the price and say that, well, we had to increase how much employees we had, and plus, inflations and tariffs. So give us more money for a quarter of a game that is a copy paste, but, with less gameplay. Also, on top of that, you'll buy a single player game, but you have to play it online. And on top of that, for that single player game, you also have to buy battle passes and cosmetics separately, not even together. And I also look forward to a DLC every half a year that is gonna cost almost the same amount as the whole price of the game, that tripled since the past 2 years. Obviously, I'm being hyperbolic with the triple.
How does that sound like it benefits me? Because it doesn't. And I can totally understand where people are coming from. Now, personally, I don't really care if these companies use Gen AI. And I fully know that in the future, this technology is going to be used to make some incredible games. It's being used right now in some cases. I mean, Expedition 33, they used it in their prototyping or in their concept phases, and look how that game turned out. There's been other examples of it as well. Arc Raiders is another one.
Yeah.
But regardless of how good some of these games are or how common this all becomes, from my perspective, nobody gets to tell the customer what is and isn't useful information to them before making a purchase. They have a right to know. You don't get to say otherwise. And Timmy Boy.
It's basically you cannot make the decision on behalf of the customer. Like the customer has the right to decide what is the information they would like to be disclosed. Like for example, I personally would appreciate games not saying like, oh, we have X amount of players for a pay to play game. I would appreciate if they actually disclose how many units they sold instead of, hey, we have that many players, but in reality, how many free copies did they give away to just fluff up the numbers?
Boy, this idea that for whatever reason that people know if AI is used and that is somehow going to stop that game from selling, that Steam is confiscating success from indie studios. That is the most performative take on Gen AI I've ever heard. Honestly, you deserve an award. The idea that people wouldn't buy. I mean, most people know that cell phones are made sourced with parts through child labor, and they still go and
Yep.
buy those phones. It's the same thing with AI. Nobody cares about any of that stuff.
Look, people like virtue signaling about those things, but in reality, they're not gonna do anything. They really aren't. But there are a lot of people virtue signaling about it.
If the product is worth it, if it's a product they need, the people are going to get it. It's just as simple as that. But even still, I'm sticking to the point. If the people want to know if it's used, they deserve to know if it's used.
Yep.
Simple as that. And this is the exact same reason why I'm not tossing aside people's concerns over hiring practices at some of these companies, over the use of consultancy agencies or agendas that people feel that are in some of these games or whatever it might be. Well, in a lot of cases, in most cases, this entire industry has told people, those people, that it doesn't matter. Now it's happening again, but it's kind of flipped on a different side. No, that's not how this works. Whether I have the same values of you as, or not, it doesn't really matter to me, man. Like, everybody deserves to know whatever they want to know about a product that they are purchasing. That's what my perspective on this is. And
Yeah, but the reality is they don't want you knowing for whatever reason, which is kind of dishonest. Companies forget that the customer is king in terms of taste. No, in their eye, the customer is a chud who has to buy it, or they are the most is person in the world.
it's important that these companies come to terms with the idea that customers are emotional people. We do not make rational decisions when we purchase products. We sometimes make emotional purchases, and you need to get behind that. Hiding from it, that's not going to do anything from you. And believing that your opinion or your values are more important, well, that's the fastest way to be able to find failure. I'll tell you that right now. And there's one company that knows that better than anybody else. That's Ubisoft. Those guys have been struggling for a long time. They've been ignoring the values of their players, ignoring the values of just all of their audiences in general, and they have failed to listen to their
Well,
audiences.
Ubisoft is a little bit different. Not only they've been lying to their own consumers, but they were also blatantly lying to their investors. So Ubisoft is like the weirdest case we have seen in gaming in a long time.
It's the same way that these guys are failing to listen to audiences the same. They've spent the last few months now crying to their local government, telling them this long list of excuses, and they're lying to themselves. If you sat down and pretty much asked anybody, even people who don't even follow the industry, why Ubisoft is struggling, why their stock price has cratered 92% in the past 5 years and is inching towards delisting, you'd get the exact same answer every single time. Their games aren't good, and they haven't made anything worth caring about. That is the universal take. You can't really put it much simpler than that. But instead of acknowledging that players are just not connecting with their games, instead of recognizing the obvious...
I think the reality is their fan base, the remaining fan base, is so rabid as well that they're not helping either. You will say a game is boring or it just is buggy, they will accuse you of being racist or whatnot. So, like, the remainder of their rabid fan base is 100% harming the company too.
Sentiment around their quality. Ubisoft's recent filings with company house Ubisoft UK insist that the problem isn't them at all. No, instead, it's actually that players just don't buy as many games anymore. In an article from Insider Gaming titled Ubisoft says people are playing fewer games, which makes more newer games struggle to stand out.
No, no, there's a lot of new game successes. Again, look at Expedition 33. That was their very first game. It's so successful, they're actually releasing a whole new map just as a thank you for free for their fans. Now look at Megabonk. It's a random liquor game. Everyone's playing it. Look at Duck Off. Look at Arc Raiders. Look at Where Winds Meet. Look at even like for example, even the free games, right? Where Winds Meet, Marvel Rivals, free games. They're racking in millions with the cosmetics they have there. And there's a lot of examples of new games that are dropping and people are eating them up. We don't have a lack of good games. We just prefer to have a lack of Ubisoft.
Taylor Hill writes, in a recent filing with Companies House, Ubisoft's United Kingdom-based arm wrote a lengthy breakdown about the future developments of the firm. The somewhat morbid telling of a tale of gaming suggested that a paradigm shift is occurring, one that is skewing the future of new single games in the wake of subscriptions and live service titles. Wasting no time, Ubisoft's representatives directly said that consumers are playing fewer games, and the ones that they do play, they're playing for longer, which means that the new single releases are struggling to compete and achieve with the sales that they once had. The traditional full game model of selling a €50 or €60 game to a consumer as a one-time purchase continues to become less ubiquitous, with multiplayer subscription services, long-running games as a service titles, free-to-play games, and cloud streaming offerings all providing new and attractive ways for consumers to access gaming content. Consumers are playing fewer games, playing them for longer, and as a result, outside of a few notable exceptions, newer games are struggling to stand out and achieve the sales that they may have once had, while the market is more volatile and the potential for any specific title is less predictable as a result. All that was followed by a note that Ubisoft Limited would see falling revenue in the coming months. Man, these guys kill me. I actually love Ubisoft. I hope that these guys never go out of business, mostly just because they become some of the best punching bags in the entire industry. But, like, what are you guys talking about? At one point, they bring up how
I don't even think they even know themselves what they're talking about. Is it possible that like someone's like holding them somewhere in a cave deep in the woods with no internet, with like occasionally allowing them to speak so they give like interviews and they're like not aware at all what's happening? Or maybe there's like little gnomes living in their head feeding all this like information to them. Because I refuse to believe that anyone is going to be that fit or that deliberately blind to what's happening in the market. Because even if you're deliberately trying to lie about this, you cannot be that stupid to think that the whole humanity that plays games doesn't have access to the internet and doesn't understand what exactly is happening. Yep, I'll play Where Winds Meet longer instead of paying full price for a Ubisoft game. Little gnomes living in their head. Yeah, they're pathologically incapable of admitting that they did something wrong. True that, and I mean we're seeing the example of it right now, right?
physical sales are slumping and it's somehow hurting their bottom line. Buddy, I'm sure it's not just your physical sales. And then they go on to talk about how people are buying fewer games, so newer releases just can't stand out. I mean, you got half of that right. People are buying fewer games, but that just means that the games that are releasing are just releasing under higher scrutiny. They are getting the attention. I mean, you had no problem standing out, just not for the right reasons. Go watch one of your trailers from a decade ago. The emotion, the
Yep.
character, the artistry, some of the best world and character design in the entire industry. And then fast forward to today, where you guys are turning 2B into 2 Brad, and you got Assassin's Creed, a franchise that used to mean something, that once used to stand as a pillar of AAA design, that is now grinded down to a pseudo live service zombie with some of the laziest art direction, animation, and storytelling that you guys have ever shipped. A game that can't even respect the crossovers that it's pandering to. Struggling to stand out. Everybody saw Assassin's Creed Shadows. Everybody saw Star Wars Outlaws. Everybody knew of.
It looks so bad. Yeah, this we have a whole video on this, and it looks so freaking bad. It's embarrassingly stiff, and the characters they added for this like extension, whatever you want to call it looks like it's from two different decades.
Skull and Bones. The problem wasn't visibility. The problem was nobody wanted to buy it. It's not that you failed to stand out. You just stood out for the worst reasons possible. And then you pivot to, well, live service is the only thing that's finding success. Dude, what world are you living in? The last 2 years have been nothing but a massacre for live service. The only real successes we have seen have been Helldivers 2, Marvel Rivals, Battlefield 6, Where Winds Meet, and Arc Raiders.
Oh, I forgot about Helldivers.
3 of those games just came out recently. And even those games have been struggling to be able to hold on to their players for an entire year. Meanwhile, we've already seen a graveyard of live service games that just died on arrival. I mean, nearly all of the most successful and celebrated games.
Most of the games that were dead on arrival were AAA games, especially this year alone. Majority of the flops were AAA games.
Right now are new non-live service games. This year alone, we got Megabonk, Schedule 1, Monster Hunter Wild, Split Fiction, Hades 2, Expedition 33, Donkey Kong Bonanza, Elden Ring, Night Rain, Silk Song, KCD 2, Silent Hill F, Digimon Time Strangers, Dispatch, Dying Light. Guys, I could just keep going, but I'm not going to because it's a really long list. There's a lot more that I...
No. I could listen to him just listing out all the games that were actually successful for like an hour.
Can name. There is no shortage of good games to buy, and people have been buying those games. People have been buying plenty of these games right now. Good games.
Also, the new Digimon game, I personally definitely recommend it. It's a good single player game. Definitely kind of like nostalgia heavy, since you can build a lineup of Digimon from the first arc. It was amazing.
Games worth their time and money, just not yours. It's always the same thing with these people. I'm sorry, but how do you not look at what you shipped with Attack on Titan and that collab with Assassin's Creed Shadows and not stop for 1 second and say, you know what? Something might be wrong here. I am genuinely shocked that they somehow found a way to make a game as bad as Shadows even worse. How do you even manage that? And I don't want to hear a single person try to pretend that this game is any kind of financial success. There is no world where a company puts that little effort into something that is actually doing well. That bar only drops that low when a studio is trying to distance itself from its own product. And the fact that they canceled all their future DLC, well, that makes it pretty obvious that's exactly what happened. This is the biggest issue that this industry faces right now. These companies and the people that are leading them, they refuse to self-reflect. They refuse to listen. Instead, they just gaslight themselves, the press, their shareholders, now even their own governments. Players have been raising concerns about Ubisoft games for years, about Shadows long before that game came out, loudly and repeatedly. Every bit of that feedback was ignored. So when these games launch and when these companies fail, why is anybody surprised? As I said earlier, players are out here giving this
Oh, because for Ubisoft, it's easier to play dumb than take any accountability that the shit they're doing is whack.
Industry more feedback than it could ever ask for, maybe more than it can even process at times. And instead of using that information, these companies just run back to their shareholders with these safe talking points that paint themselves as the victim of circumstance rather than the architects of their own failure. So why is Ubisoft failing? Because their games suck. Players have been saying this for years. They've become so aggressive with their monetization that it's infected everything that they make. Even their single-player games now come with battle passes and pay-to-progress mechanics that are slapped onto fully priced titles. And while they're squeezing harder and harder every year, the quality of their games keeps collapsing. Weaker, cheaper, and more compromised with every release. Put yourself in the player's shoes for just 2 seconds. Do you think anybody wants to pay full price for a game that gets monetized to hell, ignores its core fan base, and can't even clear the basic bar of just feeling worth your money? No, absolutely not. Epic is suffering from the exact same issues. Why will the Epic Game Store never overcome Steam? Well, maybe because it took them 7 years to add something as basic as gifting games to your friends.
7 years after launching and 18 years after Steam, the Epic Game Store will now let you gift games directly to your friends. I'm assuming that's like a direct reaction to the fact that people are not buying games on Epic and they're just claiming the free ones.
Maybe because they have made it painfully clear that they do not understand the perspective of the customer or the expectations of the market or the actual value that players want from a platform. These companies keep asking why players don't choose them, but the answer is right in front of them. You aren't building any of this for us, so why would we want it? 7 years. It's been 7 years, and Epic Game Store still does not have a review function like Steam. They still do not have concurrent player transparency like Steam. They don't have custom tagging like Steam. They only just recently added the ability for you to be able to gift friends games. Think about that. The entire time they've
But hey, at the same time, even though he won't even run his own platform properly, he thinks that he's entitled telling Valve how to handle their platform. It's like someone living in a mud hut telling another person living in a palace how to paint their windows. It's stupid.
just been operating as a platform where the customer is nothing more than that. They are just somebody that's there to make a purchase. It's a cash register. That's it. And this likely is just a reflection on what Tim Sweeney had said in his original comment. Steam used to just facilitate purchases. Now they do all these bad things. That's where you're just completely missing the point. We need more than that. We should have more than that. We deserve more than that. And you want to know why you see review bombs on Steam? It's because we know it works. It's because we see it as an opportunity to make sure that we are heard no matter what. It forces these developers to listen to us. It drives other players away to make sure that they're not making a bad purchase, and it accelerates how quickly some of these games are fixed. And while Sweeney will look at that and say, oh, well, that's allowing these customers, quote unquote, to come in and deprive the publisher and these studios of sales, we see it as us saving other players heartache and headache, saving them money, while also doing what we can to be able to protect ourselves. It makes for a far more fair ecosystem. And I think that's what a lot of these companies, they don't like it. And I think there's a lot of them that are out there that are trying to snuff that out as much as possible, because there are still some flickering lights in the distance where we do.
I'm looking at this Warframe box in the back. Is he having like an upcoming Warframe sponsorship? Yes, time will tell. Time will tell.
Still have some control. We do still have some voice in this industry. And yeah, I don't think people like that very much. Ubisoft, I have no idea what's going to happen to those guys. You know, at one point in time,
I think at this point we're just expecting majority of people just getting laid off from Ubisoft until Tencent completely devours them.
would think that they would just look in the mirror and say, all right, screw it. It's us. Yep, we know it. It's our games. Our games aren't any good. We need to fix it. This is what we're going to do. Here's the plan. We're going to listen to you. I mean, what do you guys have left to lose? Your ownership? I mean, you guys are already kind of on the line with that one anyway. It's either these guys are going to go out of business or everything's just going to go to Tencent, which that's probably the likely case in this one. But still, I don't see them turning it around because these guys just have chronic gaslighters. They just will not give it up. For the fact for these guys to still be doing this and talking this way, this late into the game, you're not pulling out of it. You know, I fully understand the inability to wade through all of this player feedback because there is a lot of it that's out there, and players are oftentimes emotional and irrational, and we can be that way, but you know, it's up to you to be able to pick out what's real and what's not. And as somebody that frequently looks at YouTube comments, believe me, I understand your perspective on this. At the same time, you know when feedback is real. You know when it's something that, you know when a criticism is right.
Yeah.
You know when it's something that's actionable that you can actually work on. That's up to you to be able to capture. And that's what these companies need to start doing. But I just don't think that there's a lot of them that are really like interested in
Well, I feel like the companies are the same way as people these days. They just feel entitled to others' people money and attention without actually contributing anything in return.
Knowing or understanding or taking action on our perspective. And with so many companies that are like that, that's so many more companies that are going to fail. And the companies that will actually take action on that, those are the ones that are going to succeed. But anyway, hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you guys did enjoy the video, like the video, subscribe to the channel, comment down below.
Already done, done, and done. Whoa, like the video. That was a good video. It just, I think we're getting like more and more examples, and I think the number is just gonna increase of examples of how the whole gaming industry is just restructuring. It's not dying. I don't know why game journals and all these people are trying to portray it as if like the gaming industry is dying. It's not. It's far away from dying. In just specific companies that are losing a lot of money, they are going bankrupt, and the reason is because they are providing horrible products. So now they're trying to publicly to play those tiny violins so people feel bad for them. But all of that could have been avoidable. That's about it.
Snowflakes falling, lights are glowing, the trees alive, the magic showing, fireside crackling.